Leave it to Disney to poo-poo their own logo. Reading. Young Jeremy did the same, depending on what exactly you mean by friends. The first few pages of this opening reading show classic moments where Christopher Robin helped Pooh and his friends out of a jam. Conspicuously absent, a time where he helped them learn how to spell. You'd think I'd be impressed that they can even write at all, but sorry, close doesn't count. Also, does anyone watching this actually need this animated storybook reset of Winnie the Pooh? Pretty sure we are all well versed in the broad particulars of this silly old bear.
That was a lovely poem, Eeyore.
Oh, come on, this kid didn't hear Eeyore's poem. He was way over here when Eeyore got to the end of the poem.
I don't think I'll need any help remembering the wood.
You wouldn't think so, would you? I mean, it would be one thing if it was an experience from when he was 4 or 5, but he's a full-on teenager right here. If he really had these experiences at this age, there is no possible way he would convince himself that they were all part of his imagination, despite what this bit of foreshadowing is trying to tell us.
It's when people call out, "What are you going to do, Christopher Robin?" And you say, "Oh, nothing," and then you go ahead and do it.
Suddenly, I imagine that in the scenario Christopher Robin is describing, the people who are calling out are living in Puerto Rico during a hurricane, or California during a forest fire, or Flint, Michigan at a water fountain.
I'm not going to do nothing anymore. They don't let you at the boarding school.
Is this the sequel to Where the Wild Things Are? It's pretty clear Christopher Robin is Max, and he's been imagining these animals the whole time to get away from his troubled family life. I don't know if that's a sin, really, but I'm gonna count it as one. They aren't even going in with him? I mean, even if you don't have the common decency to make sure the kid gets settled in. This is boarding school, for God's sake. Don't you at least have some papers to sign or something? Cricket. Man, I love poking the bear when I'm sinning the poo. Wait a minute, how in the hell did Christopher Robin score Agent Carter? Sure, he offered his seat on the bus, and then some cheeky blighter stole it and she kinda laughed at it. But did they get into an interesting conversation on that bus afterwards? You know how Ted took 8 years to explain to his kids how he met their mother? This is like the total opposite of that. To recap, Christopher Robin left his imaginary childhood friends behind. He was terrible at math, his dad died, he met Haley Atwell, who is perpetually stuck in World War II, got her pregnant, went to war, came home and met his daughter, went to work at Winslow Industry, and now he's an asshole. That's like a 3-hour movie and 12 minutes of opening credits. Phew.
Much rather be here than in my stuffy office where the boring stuff happens.
Fun fact, Where the Boring Stuff Happens was the working title for this movie.
20%, that's impossible. He's saying windy tent. That's an apple.
Character incorrectly reads lips, speaks a language, interprets a language for humorous effect cliche.
We need to produce the cuts by then. It's sink or swim.
But I promised my wife and daughter I'd take them away this weekend, sir.
You know what would really solve this problem? Winnie the Pooh. So Christopher Robin has to decide who to fire, and apparently we're going with the morose Dickensian version of Winnie the Pooh, just like we hope for in all adaptations of our fond childhood memories.
Hate to be a persistent Peter.
Persistent Peter is exactly what my ex-wife called our monthly lovemaking sessions.
She also said you'd be working this weekend.
Well, it can't be helped.
I never can.
I see we are onto the marriage strain portion of our children's entertainment now.
I have to stay for work.
I never see you.
And now we are wallowing in parental neglect? I have never seen a more constipated movie in my life. I get that you're trying to set up the conflict, but it's been 20 minutes. Just Pooh already.
Do you think you could read to me for a minute?
The Victorian era signified the height of the Industrial Revolution.
Movie isn't satisfied that you know what an out-of-touch, unfun person Christopher Robin has become, so it makes him read a history book to his daughter. Like, is this the first time he's ever read to her in his life?
Dear Father, I never knew you could draw so well.
Come on, movie. There's a distinct difference between gently tugging on my heartstrings and trying desperately to milk a dry cow. Stop tugging on me, movie. I've got no milk. Jeez, did the spirit from Hereditary just infest this house? Why the hell is there an unopened jar of damn honey on the table anyway? The way this is cut makes it seem like the whole thing gets set into motion because of some spilt honey that woke up Pooh Bear. But certainly plenty of people spill honey all over England, and Pooh basically wanders out of the 100-acre wood because he can't find anyone else to talk to. So what does the honey trap have to do with anything?
Oh, bother. Somebody seems to have eaten all the honey.
Jim Cummings is a national treasure. Fight me.
How gloomy and sad.
Winnie the Pooh would be excellent at CinemaSins.
Hello.
Pooh's hello from the other side moment conveniently takes place at a park in London that is somehow completely secluded, unoccupied, and located directly across the street from the robin's nest.
What to do, what to do, what to do. What to do indeed.
This is the part of the movie where it officially becomes Hook. Also, the guy who directed this did a movie called Finding Neverland, which was about J.M. Barrie, and how he was inspired to write the story of Peter Pan. The point being, this guy did Machine Gun Preacher too.
Pooh?
That's rude.
It's not stress. I'm stressed. It's Pooh.
The movie really does write some accidental jokes for us. Granted, they aren't good jokes. It's like laughing at Imogen Poot's name like I did for an hour in church the other day. Still, it's difficult not to notice these things in the dialogue and how immature I am.
But the tree I remember was behind the cottage in Sussex, not here in London.
I suppose it's where it needs to be.
It's where it needs to be is 100-acre woodsies for reasons.
Well, hello there.
Nosy neighbor knows not that nervous neighbor is nearby. Nevertheless, nosy neighbor navigates nimbly, nearing nonsensically nervous neighbor naturally.
We've got all weekend.
for?
Gin rummy.
This is the fourth time this guy's brought up gin rummy in a span of like 10 minutes. His wife has definitely run off with a Denzel Washington lookalike by this point. And now Pooh is eating honey from the same type of jar, but it's unbroken? Is it a new jar? When did he clean up the mess of the first jar? That stupid, pointless, broken honey jar is going to haunt my nightmares until Gabriel Byrne agrees to throw it into the fire for me. Pooh is completely stuck to this rug because his feet have a bunch of honey on them, but Christopher is able to pull him off in one motion without taking the rug with it. Pooh traipsed through honey and had a bunch on his feet and mouth, but sure, honey is really easy to clean up on a toy bear. Even if this is just Christopher Robin's imagination, I guess I'm sinning his imagination for the continuity errors. How does this lone jar collapse all these shelves? If you look closely, you can see it clearly falls in front of them, and it doesn't even make contact. And even if it did, if one jar falling a few feet can collapse your entire shelving system, I think that clumsy earth hole did you a favor.
People can't see you moving and talking.
But why?
Seriously, it didn't seem to bother Londoners in those Paddington movies. Make up your mind, English bear movies.
There he is.
How would you know that? I mean, yeah, it's definitely Pooh, but just 10 seconds ago, you ran into this little girl with a balloon, and they were selling balloons at the train station. And this is clearly a woman pushing a stroller with a balloon on it, but no clear Pooh. So what makes you so certain it's him?
Do you always have that case with you?
Look, dude, if Haley Atwell wasn't able to get a message through to Christopher about working too hard, you're sure not... Oh, Christopher values the advice of a possibly imaginary bear over his gorgeous wife. Yeah, we call this the man mumbles math equations while his teddy bear nods off to sleep on a train scene. It killed at pitch meetings. Basically got the entire movie greenlit.
Well, look, she's working.
Does she have a briefcase like you?
Holy crap, this message is hammered in this thing. Look, this movie is very sweet. You'd have to be an irredeemable dick to be harsh toward a cute, innocent bear like Pooh, voiced again by the great Jim Cummings. But this movie is like a hodgepodge of a ton of other movies, and now it can add a Christmas Carol to its checklist.
Look out, Pooh. Here I come.
Look out, Pooh, here I come is which of the following? A, the new slogan for X-Lax. B, what Michael Bay says when picking new projects. C, the name of my grunge revival band. D, the title of my Blunger's autobiography.
Well, the thing is to do this systematically.
Follow the simple honeybee.
Systematically sounds nothing like Simple Honeybee. I know part of the joke is how simple Pooh is, but who hears Matic as honey? At least give it an effort.
Pooh. Terrifying elephant and weasel-like beasts who wander the world preying on happiness aren't real.
See, Christopher Robin gets me.
Did you let me go?
I suppose I did.
Is this movie actually trying to depress me? We are almost an hour in, and it's still basically the children's version of Remains of the Day.
Pooh, you're right. You are a bear of very little brain.
You'd have to be an irredeemable dick to be harsh toward a cute, innocent bear like Pooh, voiced again by the great Jim Cummings.
Oh, yes, of course, I've grown up, haven't I?
Sure, but at that depth you would have to have been standing well above the water even as a child, so not sure what growing up has to do with anything.
He has hair everywhere.
What, like more than usual? He's clean shaven and you can't see any other part of his body.
How dare you pretend to be Christopher Robin? He'd never say such a thing.
Good God, this section of the movie is so much like Alice in Wonderland that I'm absolutely positive that Ewan McGregor's gonna start futterwalking.
Goodness cripes!
Goodness cripes.
Christopher Robin, it's you. Played again.
While the name Christopher Robin has been said many times in this movie already, now that he's playing again and doesn't care about his luggage company anymore, can this be the roll piglets moment? This goes on for some time.
You rotten, stinking Heffalump!
That's Heffalump. Owl's eyeball looking through a tree trunk makes me think this is subliminal advertising for Disney's 2000 animated movie Dinosaur, which somehow made $349 million worldwide, and everybody forgot about as soon as they left the theater. Anyway, Dinosaur 2 will soon be hypnotizing audiences into paying money that they forgot they forked over in the summer of 2025, a few months after the live-action Oliver and Company.
Well, I am a bear of very little brain.
No, Pooh. You are, I think, a bear of very big heart.
Backhanded compliments. Can someone do a geography check on the 100-acre wood? 100 acres isn't even 2/10 of a square mile, and there seems to be a lot of space here. Plus, isn't all of this in some sort of magic tree in England that's somehow bigger on the inside? Wait, is it a tree TARDIS? Is it his treatise? Is Winnie a Time Lord? Oh my god, he's Dr. Pooh!
Oh, no, 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 no!
No.
What's a Madeline? Is it more important than your case of important things?
Ah, these naive woodland creatures have so much accidental wisdom. This is work more important than your daughter theme is a dead horse that's been beaten so much that it's really just a big crater in the ground. Anything resembling a horse is long gone. This moment is brought to you by the book Noses and Things That Are Directly on Them.
Goodbye, Christopher.
No, Goodbye Christopher Robin is a different live-action Winnie the Pooh movie about the actual Christopher Robin, and somehow that came out within 1 year of this one. It's the Deep Impact Armageddon of our time, only this time Armageddon is titled mild, really deep impact for maximum confusion. Christopher tries to run to wherever he's going before his wife and daughter see him, and his daughter, of course, opens the window at the exact worst time. Deus ex disappointed? Looks like someone just saw Citizen Kane.
Well, I needed to make room in its briefcase for the real important stuff.
Seeing as how high-strung C-Rob has been so far, even after his fun time with the Pooh Gang, is there any way he didn't check his briefcase to make sure all his papers were in there before he left?
Sheep, cow, woman with dog.
Jeez, Christopher, what you do with your private time is completely up to you. Keep that stuff to yourself. Oh goody, Madeline's found a way to make tennis matches last 10 times longer than normal.
Is it all tied up nice and tight?
Well, of course. I used a Tigger nut.
100 Acres of Grey?
Did the red balloon make you happy?
Oh yes, it's a beautiful 1956 French film that won the Best Original Screenplay Oscar. Wait a minute, 1956? They couldn't have even seen that movie yet. Duh! This girl, who by all measures is a ridiculously smart nerd bookworm, spells expedition as expotition because the imaginary stuffed animals who really exist pronounce it that way.
There's going to be no fun like this at boarding school, Pooh.
Or in this movie, apparently. If Mycroft Holmes was playing golf all weekend instead of working like he said he was, then why did he bring the clubs with him to work? Why didn't he drop them off at his house? But I guess somehow Christopher needs to know that his boss wasn't where he said he was so that he can finally quit his job to support his family. Wait. Also, couldn't he be playing after the meeting? Why would Sob and Robin automatically assume he's been shirking his duties?
Welcome to London.
Okay, so the animals have some funny mispronunciation of London, separating it into two distinct words. But earlier, Pooh told Piglet,
And wait till you see London.
so all I'm asking is, movie, have some consistency with your errors.
Hey, what the poo? There's a Tigger looking right at me, but I'm the only one.
But reflections do occur in nature, right? They do have still water occasionally in the wood, don't they?
Thank you, officer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Orifice.
Orifice? How is orifice any easier to say or more known a word than officer? If Pooh knows the word orifice and not officer, I suddenly have a lot more questions about the things that go on with this 100-acre wood.
Say you.
That's my father there.
Convenient Winslow truck is convenient. I can't decide which is more unlikely, that the suitcase would remain upright, that no one would have flagged this vehicle down yet, or that this rope would somehow be this securely tied on both ends. So since I'm in doubt, let's go with all three. London's a big city, right? Like a really big city. I mean, the odds of these stuffed animals landing exactly on this windshield have to be, what, 100 zillion to 1?
Headed Woozlewoods.
Winslow.
I know Christopher Robin speaks Pooh and Friends, but why is it so easy to derive Winslows from Woozle words? These papers in this open box, after traveling behind this vehicle for this far, is the very definition of something that just can't even.
Hello, talking donkey. How are you doing today?
This greeting really only works in this very specific situation, for what it's worth, from experience. Oh no, my father's love! Also, I understand papers getting scattered, maybe blowing around on the ground and otherwise being out of reach, but this is Harry Potter levels of magic flying paper. Also, considering how much this movie's pounded the relative unimportance of these papers, it's kind of hard to feel bad or worry about them. This is not like Michael Douglas's stupid book in Wonder Boys here, where the book has been set up as something truly important. But I'd remove 100 sins right now if Robert Downey Jr. showed up trying to retrieve the papers as they fly around.
You're safe. That's all that's important. Not my papers.
Well, I'm glad we have reached the moral of the story portion of the film, because it means it might finally end. I do have to say, both things can be important. Just because one thing is more important than the other doesn't mean the papers have to be meaningless.
And I'll read you a bedtime story every night.
I'll choose from now on.
Aha, but haven't we all learned lessons about having fun at this point? He wasn't going to be reading her history books after his life-changing experience, was he?
It all depends on how you look at things.
Darling, you're a genius.
Looks like Christopher Robin went to the Jeff Goldblum and Independence Day school of giving a genius credit to people who innocuously say stuff unrelated to the problem that makes them figure out the problem. They have a tough time fitting all that on the sign, but they are a great school. How is this meeting still going on if they've already fired the team? Did they stop the meeting in the middle to fire them and then tell them to pack up and then reconvene the meeting? Christopher Robin tells the executives at a luggage company to lower their prices so the common man can afford their products and that they can earn more money. And thank God Christopher works at a high-end luggage company, because this same idea wouldn't work at a financially troubled company that already sold to the working class stiffs.
Let's address the heffalump in the room, shall we?
Considering he just heard the word heffalump, how does he know it's an elephant-like creature?
I told you I was working.
If this guy ever commits a murder, he'll be carrying the body up in an elevator with several witnesses and leave the murder weapon in his coat pocket. Am I comparing a day of golf with a serious crime of murder? Yes, I am.
When you do nothing, it leads to the very best of a something.
We've now hit the part of the picture where the characters are just okay with everything because the movie needs to end. To think that this stuffy businessman is this open to Christopher's unpreparedness, leaving midway through the meeting, talking a bunch of nonsense about heffalumps and woozles, and coming back with an idea to change the entire philosophy of the company is laughable. But I'll go along along with it if it gets me to the credits. Also, go ahead and stay home and try using this logic on your boss tomorrow. See how that goes for you. Also, this philosophy would explain why the movie truly feels like a whole bunch of nothing.
Did I get that right?
Close enough.
Close enough. It's basically word for word how you said it when you came in. That's impressive. I mean, I'm literally a professional nitpicker, and even I'd have let that one slide. You, sir, are a true artist. Get it? Because he's like the real-life Eeyore, and he's Owl, and he's Rabbit, and she's Kanga, or something. My point is, if you're going to introduce us to the idea that these Winslow workers are human counterparts to the animals, at least give them enough screen time for us to figure out who is who. Enabling.
Christopher Robin, what day is it?
Flush.
Honey Badger don't care. Honey Badger don't give a shit. It just takes what it wants.
As you might have heard, we recently announced the inaugural year of Sin Week. It's coming up soon.
Holy sh!
Sin Week is an e-convention that you can access at all levels of patronage. We'll have 5 CinemaSins videos that week for members, panels, a live podcast, and much more.
Oh, you have no idea!
And if you're signed up at the top tier, you're eligible to attend Sin Week in person. Hang out with Chris, Jeremy, and the Sins gang in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee.
Ray took his ass to Nashville!
You'll be teeing it up at Topgolf. You'll even be treated to some great food.
Faye, this is so scrumptious.
If you haven't already, sign up today at patreon.com/cinemasins. Join the club.
We accept that one of us. Google Gobble, one of us.
Is Rome worth one good man's life? We believed it once. Make us believe it again.
Do you think you could read to me for a minute?
It's being Scottish, with the lowest of the low, the most wretched, miserable, servile, pathetic trash.
Remember me? I'm your wife.
I'm not a witch, I'm your wife. But after what you just said, I'm not even sure I want to be that anymore.
You never had it so good.